Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm your host Emily here at the Astral Library. Today we are doing the mid-year book freakout tag. If you don't know, the mid-year book freakout is a booktube staple where you check in at the 6-month mark and kind of just share what you've been reading and your thoughts so far. So there's 13 questions here. I'm gonna have them on screen as well as in the description down below. Feel free to do it if you haven't done it yet. I believe when this goes out, it's actually gonna be the last day of July, so like the very last possible day to do the mid-year book freakout if you want to be mid-year. But shh, it's fine. I'm not gonna judge you. Please do this tag if you haven't done it already. Let me know and I'll watch it because I just love hearing what everyone's reading and what their thoughts are. But to dive straight in, let's go ahead and answer these questions so you can see what I've been doing with the past 6 months. So question 1. The best book you've read so far in 2023. I went back and forth on this forever because I was like, do I pick something that I've read really recent that I just really enjoyed? Is it the book I gave 5 stars? Is it just something that held a lot of sentimental value? And I finally decided on The Adventure Zone by the McElroys. The Adventure Zone is a graphic novel series that is a remake of the podcast The Adventure Zone. We are following the Balance arc, which is a D&D arc, where we have 3 brothers and their father playing. So we have Griffin, the youngest, who is a DM and kind of the guide for our story. We have Clint, the father, who plays Merrill Highchurch, a dwarven cleric. We have the oldest child, Justin, who plays a Taco from TV, a elven sorcerer. And we have the middleest brother, Travis, who plays the best boy, Magnus Burnsides, a human fighter. And oh my god, I not only adore that podcast, but I've adored every graphic novel that has come out. And The 11th Hour was both my favorite arc in the podcast and my favorite graphic novel so far. It's also like the thickest one. Like, look how chunky that one is. So just an overall kind of understanding of what the Adventure Zone balance is. We have Merle, we have Taco, and we have Magnus, who are a adventuring party that kind of get roped into a organization that is on the moon known as a Bureau of Balance. And they are given the job of reclaimers, or going out to reclaim these really powerful magic items that just can destroy the world. And they are reclaiming them and taking them back to the Bureau of Balance so they can be destroyed. Here in the 11th Hour, we have reached this like small little western mining town that is encapsulated by a bubble, where inside the bubble, people are forced to relive the same day over and over again. It's not even a day, actually. It's only an hour. So from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, something happens in the town and the day restarts. So we have to follow the boys as they figure out not only what's going on in this town, but how to get the item safely out of here before the 11th hour is up. I really loved every second of it. I've loved every book they've come out with. In fact, some of the arcs that I wasn't a fan of in the podcast, the graphic novels, really made me enjoy them. But I was like the tiniest bit nervous of how the 11th hour would turn out because it's time travel, and I just really enjoyed how Griffin told the story in the podcast, but I was not disappointed. I loved every single second of the 11th hour. Not only is it stunning, I mean, just look at all these vibrant colors. I was not disappointed. I read this in, I think, a single sitting. I just couldn't get enough, and it was definitely one of the best reads of the year so far. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. So question 2, the best sequel you've read so far in 2023. Now, unlike the previous question, I knew immediately what it was, and it was 3 Axes to Fall by Sam Sykes. So this is the final book in the Grave of Empires trilogy, and oh my god, it was so good. Like, look how big this book is. That is a chunker. I read this in, I believe, a week at most, and that is like in between classes and homework and driving to school. I tore through this book. If you don't know, The Grave of Empires is a series that follows our main character, Sal the Cacophony, who is this, I guess you would say, a bounty hunter for vagrants or rogue mages out kind of like in the wildlands. And she is on a mission to hunt down everyone who betrayed her. She has a list of people, and as she's hunting them down, she keeps getting involved in kind of conspiracies with the 2 warring powers of this world. So we have the Empire, which is a empire of mages where magic is king, and we have the kind of non-magic users there's humans who fight against mage-led rule. Sal is caught in the middle and hunted by both sides as she pisses people off in her attempts to get at whoever is on her list. There's a lot going on in this series, and I can't say too much about it without spoiling some of the things, but this is one of the most unique magic systems I've read in a story, because not only do we have these like wide variety and powers, but you have to pay a price every time you use magic. There's only a select few who are known as prodigies who do not have to pay that price, who they say are blessed by the goddess of magic, and Sal is going up against everyone. So prodigies, normal mages, human warriors with these like huge technical machines, and she's just such a badass. Like she's very raunchy and kind of gritty and sarcastic 9 times out of 10, but she's such a compelling character. And what makes these stories kind of fun is that they are stories within stories. So we always start in the present timeline of the book and we jump into the past as told by Sal, so we figure out how we got here. And 3 Axes to Fall is no exception to this rule. We are knee deep in Sal's journey the entire way. It was such a beautiful ending, and I could not have asked for a better way to wrap up the series, even though I'm sad that it's over, and anytime I want to see Sal, I'll have to reread the books. If you want something to kind of get lost into and to meet really interesting characters and read about a really magical world, pick up Grave of Empires. All the books are kind of chunky like this, so you'll have plenty to read for a while. Okay, moving on to the next question. Question 3, new releases you haven't read yet but want to. Okay, so the day I'm recording this is the day Lightbringer by Pierce Brown comes out. It is not here at my house yet, but I am so excited to get my hands on it because I cannot wait to read it. If you don't know, Lightbringer is the 3rd book in the Red Rising sequel quartet. So the first book in it is Iron Gold, which I have here for you to kind of look at while we're talking about this book. So excited. I haven't read it yet because 1, it's not in my hands. It's technically not released. Until it's in my hands, it's not released. But I also have yet to start the sequel tetralogy because I wanted to give myself a break on what was going on between the books, because Iron Gold takes place, I believe, 10 or so years after the ending of the first trilogy, Red Rising. If you don't know, Red Rising is a sci-fi series that follows our main character, Darrow, who is a red in a society where people are broken up into colors. So red being at the bottom, gold being at the top. And Darrow, as well as other reds, spend their life in colonies on Mars, mining it for resources to make Mars inhabitable for everyone to come over, or so they're told. We find out that Mars has actually been habitable for centuries and that they have been using reds as a slave labor force to keep mining and telling them this lie that they're working to make the planet habitable. So after finding this out, and after Darrow's wife martyrs herself for the cause, Darrow throws himself into the battle to dismantle the society and overthrow the gold rule. And it's such a great sci-fi series. I tore through the books so fast, and I even got my best friend to read them. Like, that's how much I enjoyed them, and he enjoyed them because he read them equally as fast. And now that Lightbringer is out and I have 3 books to read before the 4th and final book comes out, I believe next year, I can't wait to get started. You can bet you'll be seeing this pop up in a reading vlog soon because I'm very excited to read them and just see Darrow after such a long time away. I feel like coming back into this time skip is going to be a lot less jarring because I've also been away for so long. So it will feel kind of like coming home, and I know it's going to throw me right back into a sci-fi mood. So I'm very excited for this. Moving on to the next question. Number 4. What is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? This is another no-brainer question. I am super excited for The Dark Air, which I'll pop up on screen right now, by C.S. Pacat. It comes out November 14th, and when I tell you, I'm going to drop everything when that book comes out. Every single thing. No more homework, no more grading, nothing's going on but me reading that book. So The Dark Air is the sequel to The Dark Prince by C.S. Pacat, which is her first adult fantasy series, I believe. I don't even know where to begin. There's not a lot I could tell you about this book without spoiling it, but we follow our main character, Will, who is kind of thrown into this ancient battle between dark versus light, and he is told that the people hunting him down and who killed his mother are gonna find him again, and he is a key figure in this upcoming battle between light versus dark, and he wants nothing to do with it. So it's a chosen one trope. If if that turns you off, please, please, please wait. It is a chosen one trope done in such a unique and fun way. I promise you, it will be a great time. Book 1 is a lot of buildup because C.S. Pacat is known for her very intricate world, so do not fret if you're kind of worried about that. But now that she's done all the setup in this book, book 2 is just going to take off. That's just how her series work. It happened in The Captive Prince, it kind of happened in Fence, so I'm very excited to see what's going on, especially after the end of this book and the reveal we got. Ooh. And she teased the romance in this book between Will and another character, and oh my god, I cannot wait. It's gonna be so freaking cool. Alright, sorry about that. My phone overheated, so we gotta try to wrap this up pretty quickly before that happens again. So let's see if we can finish this video off. Question number 5. What is your biggest disappointment of 2023? This is also a kind of no-brainer. My biggest disappointment was The Blood Gift by N.E. Davenport. So The Blood Gift is part of the Blood Gift duology where we are following our main character, Ikenna, who is a soldier in training, a Protarian I think they're called, and her grandfather has just died and she's kind of feeling lost in the world. But as she's grieving the death of her grandfather, who is her only kind of like parental figure and the only family she had left, she finds out that his death was a murder and that the person responsible is found in the Protarian school where she was slotted to go. So she goes into the school and goes into the blood trials to kind of embed herself in the organization to get close to who she thinks killed her grandfather. But what no one knows is that Ikenna has the blood gift, or a magical power that is only found in the enemy empire and the Blood Emperor. And so we're following Ikenna as she not only tries to figure out who is behind the death of her grandfather, but also in keeping her powers a secret from not only her friends and her teachers, but also preparing for the oncoming war between the Blood Emperor and her society. Just from that description alone, it's a mess. By the end of the first book, I was already kind of annoyed with our main character in this, but by the time we got to this book, I was just so frustrated with every decision she was making. Like at one point, she's literally told by a god to pray and get answers, and she doesn't do it. And of course, it fucks her over in the next battle, and it was just so annoying. I remember reading this book and just shaking my head at every decision the main character was making, and it just felt really juvenile, especially since this is an adult sci-fi series. I picked up this book because it was marketed as like another Red Rising, and it has elements of Red Rising and kind of Hunger Games, but it's not an adult novel as much as it tries to market itself as. Sure, it's a little graphic here and there, and there's sex in the sequel here, but nothing else about it reads adult. In fact, it kind of reads very juvenile and very much like a YA protagonist, which is not a bad thing, but it's also not what I expected picking up an adult sci-fi that was saying it was like Red Rising, which is a very mature and very much an adult series. This is firmly YA, and I think if I knew that going in, I might have enjoyed the series a little bit more, but because it was marketed as adult and I picked it up expecting adult behavior, Ikenna's wishy-washy kind of nature and just her stupid mistakes really rubbed me the wrong way. So I think I gave this 1 star. That's how much I was just disappointed and over everything in the book. I remember telling my friend, he's like, "Are you still reading that book?" I was like, "Yes." He's like, "Why are you still reading it?" I'm like, "Because it's the last book in a duology and I had like 100 pages left." But those 100 pages were painful. So I'm glad to be done with this series. I will not be picking up any more. I might pick up more N.E. Davenport just because I was interested in the world she created, and I'd be interested in seeing how she develops as an author. Okay, moving on to the next question. Question 6. What is the biggest surprise of 2023? The biggest surprise of this year was definitely The Bladed Faith by David Dalglish, which is an adult fantasy series that is in multi-perspective. So The Bladed Faith follows a cast of characters who are in this tiny little kingdom that's on an island that is being invaded by a force, and we start the book with our main character Cyrus witnessing the slaying of his empire's gods and his family. The book jumps forward, I believe, like 5 years or so into this invasion, and we are following the rebellion as they are trying to overthrow this invading force who has done this so many times before. Cyrus is eventually rescued and taken in by the rebellion, who raises him to become this assassin, this pinnacle figure known as Vagrant, or this kind of like all killing force. And he's working with this rebellion to reclaim his empire. And he's kind of trained to become this assassin known as the Vagrant, to just terrorize the emperor and make them fear. And the deeper we get into this rebellion and the deeper Cyrus becomes Vagrant, we see that not everything is right on either side. It's definitely a question of how far are you willing to go to achieve freedom and achieve your goals, and is the line the same for Cyrus as it is for the rest of the rebellion? So if you know anything about me, know this: I really don't like multi-perspective books. I just tend to get annoyed, and I only really care about a couple characters here and there. So when I picked this up, I didn't know it was multi-perspective, and when I started reading and I found out it was multi-perspective, I was worried that I wasn't gonna like it. However, I actually really enjoyed every perspective we got in this book. I didn't feel like any were just thrown in there. I felt like the characters were super interesting, and I loved the way they thought because every character had a different mode of thinking, and it all just really added to the experience of this book. And it was just a really well done series, and I'm really excited to pick up its sequel later this year. All right, moving on to the next question. Question 7, a favorite new author. So it could be a debut or new to you. So again, I'm gonna go with David Dalglish. I had never read anything by him before, and I really enjoyed this. And any author that can get me to read a multi-perspective story and not skip any perspectives is someone I need to keep an eye on, because clearly this man knows what he's doing, and I can't wait for more of his work, because not only do I have the sequel to read, but there's gonna be a third book, so this is a trilogy. I'm very excited to see what he's written, and after I finish this, I might go back and read his backlog to kind of see what else he's kind of come up with. Okay, moving on, we have question 8, newest fictional crush. I don't think I have an answer for this one, to be honest with you. I haven't really been reading anything that I've like fallen in love with the character. If we're gonna go with anime, I've been watching a lot of One Piece this year, so I've fallen very much in love with Zoro, of course, but also just Luffy. It's been a lot of fun. I've been super excited that I'm caught up now, and now that we have a big episode coming out August 6th, I'm just in the hype with everyone else. I'm anxiously waiting every week for the new episode as we build up to it. And yeah, if I had to say a crush, I'd say Luffy and Zoro. It's just been really nice to kind of see them grow, because at the beginning of this year I was still pre-time skip, but now that I'm post-time skip and in Wano, I'm so excited for everything, and I just cannot wait for August 6th. You will not hear me shut up about that show, I'm sure. I actually have a One Piece video planned, so just keep an eye out for that. If you've never read it, or if you're interested, maybe I can convince you to watch it. Maybe convince you to come on this journey with me, because it is a journey. There's over 1,000 episodes, but it's worth every second. I promise. I promise. I was also a hater, but it's worth it. I promise. Okay, moving on to a question I really can answer about a book. Question 9, your newest favorite character. I will not do an anime for this one, but my newest favorite character is actually Alana from Saga. So I read Saga earlier this year. I don't have a physical copy yet. I actually had borrowed it from my library, so I'll pop a picture of her on screen right here. But Alana is the mother of Saga, or the daughter in Saga, and she's just such a badass female character. I loved how snarky she was, but also how loving she could be with her husband and her daughter. I just really loved her character, and I can't wait to get to know more of her, because I only read the first volume, so I have many to go, and I'm very excited to learn more about who she is and her backstory, and just get to witness the banter between her and her husband, because it was so good in that first volume. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Question number 10, book that made you cry. I swear I'm not going to double up often on these questions, but the book that made me cry the most was 3 Axes to Fall. I was at school when this book made me cry. Let me just paint you a picture. So I'm in the English library, and I'm sitting in a chair, and thankfully no one's around. When we get to the death of a character that I hated, understand this, I hated this character. Like in the end of book 1, I thought this character was the worst thing ever, but he pops up again in this book, and we get his death, and I was bawling, like hand to my mouth, trying to hold back the sobs so no one would hear me crying at his death. Even now, like thinking about it now, it kind of makes me a little teary, because it's just, Sam Sykes did such a good job with making this character who we really disliked and who Sal has a lot of history with, just give him, I wouldn't say a good death, but definitely a meaningful one, and one that just hits so hard in the series, because it drew back to the first book and a little of the second book, and And you feel every moment of his death, and the last words he says to Sal. I love this book so much, and I was really sad when this character died, even though I hated him. Like, what? How fucked up is that? You're crying over a character you hated, but you can't help but just love him in that moment. And I feel like it's just goes to show how great of a writer Sam Sykes is, that he's able to have that turn of character and have that reaction within you, where not only are you going to hate a character, but you're also going to grieve their death. So this is a book that made me cry. I think it's the only book that's made me cry this year, to be honest. Not only is it over, but it had to make me cry tears. What a way to go. Okay, moving on. Question 11. Book that made me happy. So unfortunately, I didn't read this book directly after Three Axes to Fall, because wouldn't that have been nice? But the book that made me happiest was Teen Titans Robin. I actually forgot this book was coming out, and so I didn't see it until I was just randomly at a Barnes & Noble, and it just made me giddy the moment I saw it, and I had to pick it up because Gabriel Piccolo is one of my favorite illustrators, period, and Robin's one of my favorite characters, so I was just so happy to see it and to see him published in all his glory and get to just know not only Dick but also Damien, who are adorning this cover here. And just look at Dick. He's so gorgeous. And the next book is Starfire, who's my favorite, and then I believe it's Robin and Starfire, which little kid Emily is like, her shipper heart's going crazy because she loved Robin and Starfire. And so I'm very excited to continue on with the series. And this just made me happy because the story was developing really cool. And it was just really nice to see Robin again, just in print, and to see Piccolo's Robin because it does such a great job drawing the Teen Titans. Question 12. What is the most beautiful book that you've bought this year? I'm sure this is not a surprise to anyone, but the most beautiful book I bought this year is actually from Fairy Loot, and that is The Adventures of Amina Al-Soraya. Just look at this book. So just look at the foiling on the cover, but the best part of this book is its spine. Look at how beautiful that is. Not only is the dust jacket and its kind of pages beautiful, but hold please, the naked hardback is also equally as stunning. And then we have these like really, really pretty end pages that are a map. This is the prettiest book I own. It's one of the prettiest books I own. I have not read this yet because I've been reading just chunkers and had to read a lot for school. But this is definitely on my TBR because not only is it stunning, I've heard the story is really, really good. In terms of what this book is about, let me go ahead and read you the synopsis because all I know is that it's about a female pirate who's retired. I think she's somewhere in like her late 30s to 40s, and she's being called back on one more adventure. A pirate of infamy and one of the most storied and scandalous captains to ever sail the seven seas. Amina al-Sarafi has survived backstabbing rogues, vengeful merchant princes, several husbands, and one actual demon to retire peacefully with her family to a life of piety, motherhood, and absolutely nothing that hints of the supernatural. But when she's offered a job no bandit could refuse, she jumps at the chance for one final adventure with her old crew that will make her a legend and offer a fortune that will secure her and her family's future forever. Yet the deeper Amina dives, the higher the stakes, for there's always risk in wanting to become a legend, to seize one last chance at glory, to savor just a bit more power, and the price might be your very soul. So that is a synopsis to The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi, and I'm excited for it. I will probably be picking this up soon, perhaps for my magical readathon, which that's a video coming soon, so keep on the lookout for that. But yes, this is a gorgeous book, one of the prettiest I've owned and got this year. Just a really cool sounding story, so I'm very excited to read it. Time for the final question. So question 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Who chose this very rude question? How dare you call me out on all the books that I need to read this year? As every reader, there's many that I need to read this year and that I want to read before the year is up. So I have too many to name. However, I have chosen 5 books to stand in for my answer here. And they all happen to just be these very pretty blue books. So the first of the 5 books I want to read before the end of the year is of course the sequel to The Bladed Faith. So we have The Sapphire Altar by David Daglish. I'm very excited to start this. I'm probably going to be picking this up soon now that I've finished my latest read. So I'm going to be starting this because I want to know how the series is progressing and what's going to happen next after the end of the first book. Next up, I have Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation Volume 2 2. So I've actually started this book, so I want to finish it and kind of continue moving on with this series. So it's been staring at me for a while, so it's time that I get it done. After that, I have yet another continuation of a series, which is the theme for all this. All of these books I have here are continuations of some sort of series I've started. So next I have the second book in the Chronicles of the Bitch Queen series, so The Issachar Falcon by Kea Veloso. Yeah, the first book was kind of slow, so I'm excited to see if this sequel is where it starts picking up more now that we've been introduced to the world and introduced to all our key players. So I'm excited for this one to pick up because book 1 had a lot of interesting things going on in it, but I just wanted more from it. After that, we have Gemna, or the second book in the Illuminae files. I started this one and you can actually see my bookmark, or you can kind of see, but you can see my little bookmark in this book. That bookmark's been in there for a long time. So I want to finish this series because I know it's going to be a quick read since the Illuminae Files is a mixed media kind of sci-fi series, so it's going to kind of go through really fast. Want to get it done by the end of the year. And the last book on this little list is Bloody Rose by Nicholas Eames. This is the companion novel to Kings of the Wild, which is one of the best books I read in 2022. I know I'm gonna love this one a lot, and I've been saving it for when I've been feeling down and when I just need a good pick-me-up adventure, because if it's anything like Kings of the Wild, I know Bloody Rose is going to be amazing and make me love all the characters. And I especially love that we're gonna get this female lead. So I'm very excited for this and very excited to learn what was going on with Rose during the events of the first book. Alrighty everyone, but that's it for me today. I want to thank you all so much for watching my mid-year book freakout tag. Again, if you haven't done it, please do a video and tag me in your comments or in your description. I definitely would love to check it out and to see what you guys have been reading all year and what you're most excited for next year. But it's super hot at my house and in my office, so I'm gonna end this video here so I could turn my AC on and just cool down because, oh boy, me and my phone have been overheating. But thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider leaving a thumb up and write down in the comments down below. Let me know what books you're most looking forward to in the next half of this year, or what was your favorite reads in the first half of this year. And if you want to see more content like this and you like my personality, please consider subscribing. I am so happy to be here on BookTube and growing this community, and I'm excited to get to know each and every one of you and to continue making videos like this that show you not only my taste, but also just kind of let me freak out about books. All right, but that's all I have for you today. I will see you in the next one. Bye!